we live?
It says we are.
We are live.
It says
In
you
color.
are live.
Live
From Mount Holly.
We've
what
been
I say.
live for 10 seconds. That's caught me
That's
out.
it. Who all's in here? Lars was here at 2:51 p.m. He was here before I was here.
Yeah, physically.
Yeah, we have Wendy English, Dakota's Timeout, the One-Eyed Cat, Sean O'Brien. By the way, Sean O'Brien, he's the guy who was making
The intake.
Yeah, he was making the intakes for the two.
We got to get up with him.
Yeah,
We've got to get up with that guy.
That's a good Irish name, Sean.
you know, you need to check out some of these guys like Hot Rod Guy Garage. He brought a rear engine Geo Metro to No Name Nationals last year.
That's interesting.
I mean, we had some guys make some cool stuff here. Pure Pontiac Garage.
Well, wait a
Unfinished
minute.
Project.
Can I ask a question
Of
of the
course.
audience here? Is there anybody that is viewing this godforsaken program that has anything to do with a university or college that would be interested in doing 100 mile per gallon car? That is to average 100 miles per gallon driving around on a typical combined freeway and road course as per the EPA deal. I can tell you how to do it. If we get a university doing it, we can probably get a free car.
Yeah.
If you get a university doing it, that's going to be all kinds of interesting stuff there.
Well, it's
Yeah.
quite simple to do when you know how.
We'll get to it. Let's see here.
Who all's in here?
Pure Pontiac Garage, Mexican Spec. See, I put a little note in there.
Yeah.
My aunt is here watching. Tony's here watching from Arizona.
Awesome.
Dust Devil Brian. Colleen Tebow.
Tunnel Ram Mafia.
That's right. Nick the Van Man. Nick is building a 300 Ford 6
Yeah.
with a 4
Load
barrel.
a straight six.
Mhm.
That thing is going to sound good with that cam he's got.
Austin wants everybody to know he's here. Like Austin could ever enter and so people not know
Did you
he's
bring
there.
Whistling Diesel with you?
Yeah. Ron English. Andrew Nelson says, good evening from the Nivlac 57 family. We're glad you're here.
Howdy, howdy.
My mom is here.
Yep, I recognize that straight away.
Dean Stevenson. Dizzy Izzy. Rabid Transit J. Cope is here.
Yeah, Cope is here.
You know it's not an imposter.
Mm-mm.
Shop 209 is here. Rick Salmon, Clayton's Toolbox, Mater's Workshop, Heaven's Mopar Scott, Buck Does It, Big Mike of the Hoopty Barn. Hello, Robert. Thinking he's from the land down under.
Awesome.
Buff Del Campo.
Now, when you go to Australia, Australia is at the top of the world on their globes. The
Okay.
South Pole points upwards.
That's pretty interesting.
I've never been to Australia.
Oh my goodness, it's a great place to go. I've spent about 6 months out there all told, and it's, hey, a lot of people go out there and they just don't want to come back.
Ron English, who held that day counter on the wall at a live stream we did with a screwdriver, drove it straight in the wall in the drywall.
Yeah, well,
It
that's
worked.
one way to attach it.
But you know, speaking of needing a screwdriver, something I'll tell you guys, we're still having people assembling here.
Yep.
I took a starter to a place that rebuilds them
Mhm.
at the town where I'm from,
Yeah.
and he did a load test on it. Now, how would you imagine you would load test a starter?
Tell us your trick.
Well, put it on something that resembled the resistance of an engine.
Well, that seems pretty reasonable.
Pretty reasonable.
This guy sticks a big
torque.
jumper cable on it,
Yeah.
and then he tries to stop it with a
With
screwdriver
screwdriver?
straight in the bendix. And it's just grinding away. So, well, I couldn't stall it out. Seems okay to me.
But
Wow.
sparks were going everywhere.
Oh,
It's lucky he still has a hand. But
Yeah,
anyways,
well, so if you saw the thumbnail from last week, that garage that turned
What's
into a grocery store, it's
Yeah,
next
Wrong
door to
with the
that.
orange paper.
Oh, nothing. It's just kind of washed out. With the lights are really bright in here, unlike my studio, so you can see that more. But it's okay for Zell
It
Racing
says
here.
132.
That's the only thing wrong with it. It's not
There.
enough days for some people.
yeah.
And tomorrow it will be one less. What will that come to?
Well, it's 131 days and 3 hours and 54 minutes is what it is right now.
Well, how did you come to that conclusion?
Because if day 132 is burning and we have 3 hours and 54 minutes left in today, then it's
Oh,
131 days, 3 hours and 54 minutes.
I hadn't noticed that.
There.
Yeah.
It's a bit slow there, but
There's Dr. Go. Heavens Mopar Scott. You should see what he's attempting. He's taking about 60% of a Charger and making a car out of it.
Hey, whatever works.
Shop
didn't it start
209.
off as a car?
It was a car in the 60s, and most of it's still around.
It's not in the same spot.
He's working on it. KJ is barbecuing chicken right now.
Thumper the Sweat.
Yep, that's one of our guys
Yep.
there. L&A, how's it
Don't
going?
make me laugh.
Thumper's great.
He is.
Very smart. Very smart. In fact, Thumper and I did some
You have
lives
to
on
be
ethanol.
smart to have the nerve to name yourself that, because you couldn't get away
yeah.
with it if you were stupid.
He is a specialist in ethanol fuel.
Yeah.
Makes his own
Uh-huh.
and everything.
Right.
He runs E100. Dust Devil says at 132, he needs to stop buying stuff and start doing stuff. I would agree
What's
with
another
that.
significance of 132?
Another significance of 132?
Yeah.
66 is half of it.
That's the formula for picking a camshaft for a big block Chevy.
Oh, 130. Okay. I had in my mind 128.
Yeah.
Okay, so apparently RT211 Racing, Ross's press secretary there, Michelle, says that RT211 is at the track for testing too. He let me know that. Thank you.
Awesome.
But this one probably be good to watch on replay. There'll probably be lots of interesting stuff in it.
You never know where this one's going to go.
You never know. Big Mike, way to make us jealous. We're on the way home from a crawfish boil. Look at that. Oh,
Well, we had our own little shindig a while ago.
We did. I had some steak and some shrimp.
Yeah.
Frizzell there, he runs a Galaxy with a 4-speed.
It's a bad car.
Nostalgia Ford
What
man.
year?
What year is that Galaxy?
64?
64?
Early
65?
60s, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they look awesome,
Yeah.
didn't they?
Good looking
Is it-
car.
Yes,
Is it
and
a-
I'm
Is it
convinced of the elder
a
Brock.
notchback or a fastback? That's the ones I like.
I can't remember which
It's a
one.
sedan. It's a Galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful car.
It is.
You'll see it.
Thumper says it's truth in advertising. Thumper, the sweaty fat guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Dizzy Izzy says the northern lights may be visible all the way down to Alabama. The trees falling down are what's visible here. They had
Yes.
storms here. It's
Oh,
unreal.
We're lucky to
We-
have the
we
power
had
to do this
winds
live.
of 60 miles an hour, right? And it was very dense air, so 60 miles an hour wind was pretty destructive.
It was very concentrated.
Ed's Machine says, good evening, everyone.
Hello, Ed.
Shop 209 says 132 days is plenty of time. And he's right. If
It
you
is.
use them.
If you use them
If
wisely,
you use them, that's right.
sitting on the couch is not going to cut it.
Tell old RT211 Racing that we're having an intensive conversation whether or not to disqualify him by 1/100th of a second so that he can worry about that all evening. Because, he likes to worry. There's Cowboy Car Crushing. How's it going, sir? He has a channel just on crushing cars. That's what he does for a living. He runs a
That's
loader
pretty cool.
and he crushes. He has a great channel.
So he gets to take out his frustrations and gets
All
paid
day.
for
You,
it.
you should watch it. He's doing his thing, commentary, talking with the viewers, loading cars in the crusher.
What is the car that has hurt you the most to crush?
That's a good one.
Oh yeah, I'd like
That's
to
a
know
good one.
that.
That's a good
Made you cry?
I have asked him a few times. I really want to get Cowboy Car Crushing on a live stream.
That would be pretty
He's an interesting guy, and he can work his loader with great precision. Opening hoods and taking wiring and dash out and everything. It's amazing how he works with that thing.
Well, I guess you get good at it if you spend enough time practicing.
Right,
It is a 63.
Now,
63.
63, I think that's the one I like.
But it has a big cubic inch FE engine in it, 4-speed car, wheels up launches.
What's a 63 like a 396?
No, it's 390, but
Three-
his is
390.
like a 4. It's a big cubic inch FE. I don't know the exact cubic inch, but it's got trick flow top end on it. It's very, very nice.
His 4-speed too has the gears that are designed to engage on the front.
Yeah.
So it's practically like a clutchless transmission based on the
Yes.
top loader. So he can really drive it.
Yeah. High dollar unit.
Dust Devil has the question so many people want to know of Mr. Wood here. Have you got to do any tuning on those VRS carbs?
The answer to that is no, because drivability is dead on almost perfect. I mean,
And he's been excited about that from the time he drove over here and says, they drive like fuel injection.
yeah. David didn't believe me, but yeah, they do.
Frizzell says it's a
No,
fastback.
actually, what I said, Andy, now remember this, I said if it wasn't coming from you, I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Cowboy Car Crushing says, I'm testing and tuning some guacamole dip. That's what he's testing and tuning.
Did you crush the guacamole in the car crusher?
Yeah, we got a pretty good crowd.
We do. And it's a different crowd. It's a little different crowd than what you guys are used to.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful crowd. These are all the folks who turn out for the No Name Nationals.
You were saying that they were a real special bunch of
Oh,
guys.
They are.
They're great. We love this crowd.
Right. Your comment that quality overrules quantity every day.
Yes. Yes.
Any day of the week.
Oh yeah. It's a great crowd.
Colleen, I will be at Shady Side tomorrow, as a matter of fact, racing.
The Buick Smith is here. And Tony's asking about the VRS. He says he's about fed up trying to make his demon behave on the street.
I'm telling you, there is no comparison. I mean, I have worked on every type of Holly clone out there, quick fuel, AED, you name it, Barry Grant, the older Barry Grants. I would even go as far as Dave Braswell's carburetors. And that is a far fetch that these carburetors are in that category.
Well, we're talking about a guy that's legendary in the carburetor business.
Yes. A Braswell carburetor is unreal.
Outside the box, either has a creative typo or something, but Mr. Vizard. I learned so much. I like
Vizard.
That's Gizzard.
Gizzard.
I like that. I like that. Thumper says, I want to make a pair of VRS.
Mr. Gizzard, I learned so much from you. What you didn't learn was how to spell my name.
And there's the second try. It's Vizard with two Z's. Daddy's Money Garage says, everyone welcome my brother Jason, who is currently lurking in the chat and can definitely see everything you're saying. It's the first live he's attended. Well, it doesn't count till he posts something. Tell him to post something.
Yeah. You got to jump in the pool at some point.
Tell Jason to post plot twist. I'm whistling diesel.
Oh.
Cowboy Car Christian says, every Chevy S10, I have to shut my eyes.
Oh.
That's the one that bothers him.
That's his weakness.
Really?
Yeah, apparently.
That surprises me.
Yeah.
Jason, spooky dude, 3346.
That's interesting, Nate.
There you go.
So you were born on the 33rd day of whatever month in 1946. Does that sound reasonable?
March 3rd of 46. You're a lot older than Austin.
A lot older.
So Buick Smith says, I did more tough testing on the 71 GS on my video today. Okay. JB's little shop is here. JB,
What's up, JB?
JB is the guy who had the garage door that we sized the banner for. That's him.
Ah,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Heavens Mopars. I love this comment. I could never crush cars for a living. I do what I can to save them. You know what, Scott? Most of what I see him crushing looks way better than a lot of the stuff that you save. So I could absolutely see that.
Yeah.
Scott's a warrior. Nothing scares Scott.
What does Frizzell Racing have to
Yep.
say there?
462? A
Yeah.
462? I didn't know that engine was that
Yeah.
big. Golly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that car is going to get down. That car will surprise a lot of people, I'm willing to bet.
Two hacks. Jeff is here.
Jeff Rowe.
Jeff is building a nostalgia dragster, a front engine dragster.
Oh, I love front engine dragsters.
Have you shown him that?
I must be getting old. Is that right, Andy?
Yeah. But
Front engine
we're going to
dragsters.
have one at some point.
Can you pass me a tissue off?
We
that
have-
over there.
We have all
Thank
the
you,
bases
John.
for an engine for one.
I will show Vizard.
You just got to find one big enough for my butt to fit in. That's the problem.
What, an engine or
Here
a
it
car?
is.
The dragster.
This is Jeff's dragster there.
Don't drool too much, David.
Front engine,
Well, it doesn't have
It's
an
a
engine at
slingshot.
the moment.
It's
Well,
going to
they're-
have a
small
engine.
block Chevy, and
Injected.
they're going to run it on the methanol first.
Well, I tell you what, a friend of mine raced a junior dragster, which had a 327 cubic inch
Yeah, junior fueler.
junior fueler. Yep. And he showed me some of his time slips, and this has got to be 1977, 78 when he showed me these time slips, and he ran the car probably 10 years before that. I couldn't believe it was so fast. And he said, you wouldn't believe how little we did to the engine.
Yeah.
I like this comment. Cowboy Car Crushing says, I've crushed Grandpa's collection several times where he's gone and crushed collections of the families. I don't like that when he dies, the kids start fighting over the value of stuff. The real value of the stuff would have been doing something with it with him.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that's the real value. All righty. Big Mike says, my troubles, I keep getting distracted with other car projects. He'll get back to his Green Goblin Charger soon. Mike is a get it done guy. Mike has he's built a car for the first No Name Nationals, the second, and the third. He's built a car each year. Not many people can do that.
No.
And unfinished project randomly puts up a shark. Because
That's just unfinished.
that's
product.
what he does.
That's
RC Industry brings a fresh build.
Talking
every year.
about
Yeah, he does.
unfinished projects, right? It suddenly occurred to me, I still have Jackie's project cars.
you do.
Really?
Well, she's got a drag race Mustang and a road race Mustang,
Yep.
right?
That we need to do something with.
Well, it's got to the stage now where our plans have moved so far along
Yeah.
that we're better off selling this. Now, can I just tell people
Sure.
what it is? Okay.
Go for it.
Jackie's drag race Mustang, and it looks like a piece of shit right now because it stood for 10 years now without being touched. And but it's got a lot of good stuff on it. It's got SS brakes on it, you know, the drag race brakes, the vented calipers and that. The front suspension and subframe has been all done on it. It's got a drag race rear suspension.
Yeah.
And I can't
Maximum
remember.
Motorsport.
Yeah. Quick. It was
It's
a
4-link.
four-link
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. With was it a Panhard rod on it or what to stabilize it?
Yeah,
Anyway,
you had a Panhard bar on it.
and it's got the now I think it's got a torsion limited slip diff in it. It doesn't have a gearbox, I don't think. Right, but the rolling chassis is there. It needs glass. It needs an engine.
And wiring.
And what is that the drag
Yeah.
car? Because the road race car doesn't need wiring. Marvin
Yeah.
did most of that.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I guess we need to get rid of that because it's just
We
taking
need
up
to,
space.
yeah, we need to go look
What do
at
you
it.
think we should ask for it?
I don't know. I haven't seen
$1,500.
but I haven't seen the car in 10 years.
It looks ugly,
Yeah.
but it's got the stuff there.
There's more than $1,500 worth of
Yeah.
stuff.
Now the road race car, that because Jackie was more of a road racer than she was a drag racer. She was very good at drag racing, but she was very, very good at slinging cars into corners with all out of shape. You know, at 8 years old, she could put a full-size car into a four-wheel slide. 8 years old, right?
I've seen it.
Anyway, the road race car, it's a Fox body Mustang. It's got wheels and tires. The tires have never been used. They will work, but they'll need replacing because of age.
It has bear brakes on it.
Yes, it's got the big bear brakes on it.
Yes.
It has torsion limited slip diff. It's got the back axle's been negative camber. It's got about a half a degree of negative camber on it. All the front suspension's done on it. It's
Tubular
got
K member.
yeah.
I mean, the whole lot.
Roll cage inside. Now, a friend of Jackie's, a friend of the family, built the roll cage, and this guy used to build cars and chassis for well-known cup car guys. And one of the things that we discussed was girls shouldn't get killed in car crashes. It's all right for guys to do that, but girls shouldn't. So although it was a road race car, he put in a roll cage that should stand a 200-mile-an-hour crash into the wall.
It's a full-on.
It's a NASCAR. Yeah, it's a NASCAR cage beefed up, right? Can't remember if it's got the seat in it, but it's got a brand new 5-speed close ratio box that was built by my crew chief, who was really good at building gearboxes, and it's a no lift change on it. You can pull it through the gears so fast that going up through the gears, you do not lift. You just go boom like that, and it'll go straight into it. And a few other things, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: if somebody's willing to pay about $3,500 for it, when they get the car done, we will loan them an engine which they need to do life testing on. 500 horsepower, 289. We want to see how many miles it will go. We will put that engine in at our expense, but we want to see a finished car first. That's it.
By stipulation. See, they greet each other in there online, which is important. It's a community.
So what's tonight's topic, Mr.
Oh,
Wilbur?
Daddy's Muddy Garage. He says, I like how we can just barely read the numbers. You know what? It doesn't. It's because it's faded, because most of the day is faded. There's only 3 hours.
That's right.
37 minutes left in the day.
You know, like in Back to the Future when he's up there playing Johnny Be Good and he starts to fade.
Yes, it's just exactly
Same
like
thing.
that. Tony's Hot Rod Garage says it's $957.95 for an 850 VRS.
Yep. Which is about $300 cheaper than an XP Holly. So there you go.
Oh. Don't you remember the $999 deal on the Mopar 6-pack? You could get the whole kit.
You could get the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah,
but wait a minute, we're going back 30 years.
I know we are, but I still remember it.
Yeah, but
you were just a kid.
I was a teenager buying parts then. I remember it well.
Remember, how much did you pay for your first carburetor? Your first new carburetor? Yeah.
Mine was probably the $199 double pumper Holland. Yeah.
So that tells you our age.
Yeah. Sure did.
Well,
I got it from Summit.
Other than an SU,
I got mine from PAW.
The first carburetor.
That's been a while.
My first carburetor was expensive as hell. That was a 48 IDA Weber.
Your first carburetor. That's a good trivia question.
Other than an SU.
That is a good trivia question.
Yeah, 48 IDA Weber. See, I learned something tonight.
That's a very Vizard type carburetor.
Yeah, that is.
Well, it was on my Mini.
Yeah.
Right. And it stuck up through the hood, and I had this.
Oh yeah, if you're going to do it right.
Yeah. Back then, race engine used to be fully built under 10 grand.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's around 50 on the price.
A lot of stuff's gotten very
On
expensive.
the price US.
Daddy's Money says, to be fair, the Magnum for the Jet we built was under 10,000, but people still complain we spent too much money for some reason. People will complain about anything you ever do.
Yep. There's some people only need the vaguest excuse to complain.
That's a fact.
Right? There are people who wake up in the morning and decide they're going to have a problem today. They don't know what it is yet, but they're going to find it before the day's up.
And this is my thought on this, right? See if you guys agree. deep down, they must be unhappy souls who really don't manage to achieve anything.
You know, it makes me wonder what it would take to build my engine now, even though, because this was like right around COVID. You remember when it hit?
Yeah, about 5 years ago, you
So-
started that engine, didn't you?
But I still had close to 14 in it. You know, but I did
Yeah.
a lot of horse trading.
Yeah,
You know,
Russell,
but
there's-
it is an exotic engine.
yeah.
Russell there says he knows somebody who may be interested in the Mustangs. He just sold his Saline Fox body.
There you go.
So
John, send me okay.
Yeah.
That's messages for you. Yeah, you
We can do that.
Yeah. London Custom Classics.
is this John who took the picture of Austin at the lake with Whistling Diesel? Is it that John?
It might be.
John, that's a fancy shirt. Okay, so I was doing some work for Coke today. I was doing some work, so I'm wearing the staff shirt.
Yeah.
This is the I Mean Business shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Landon Custom Classics.
You just don't know.
That's right.
Call it the collections department.
Brazil said, anyway, why don't we have a little fun at No Name Nationals? You want to line up Casper with the Legacy?
I would definitely love to do that because
would be a
if
beautiful
anything,
picture.
I would be. Yeah, that's
The
what
picture.
I'm all about. The
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah, that'd be a wonderful picture.
Both of them wheels up. Oh yeah, that would be epic.
We haven't been asked many questions so far.
Well, they're just having fun and they're
Doing-
listening.
They're
listening to
doing what
stuff.
they want to do, and that's good.
This is the evening.
right?
Tonight's topic: the 6-pack ton run. Unfinished project. Should I show that picture?
Yeah.
You tell me if I can show the picture, and then we'll talk about it. You're gonna love this. Dougster likes the red polo. Yes.
This is the I Mean Business shirt. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Landon has a VRS on his T-Bird. What do you think about it, Landon? How do you rank it versus a Holly of the same size and a modern Holly? Thumper says, when did carbs end up costing as much as EFI?
But does it really?
Ever since the price of
Is
the
it-
EFI came down.
Yeah. Well, it's no coincidence because they're trying to push fuel injection. So what do you do to the price of carburetors? You raise them up to try to get people to quit buying them.
And
It's
the
simple.
problem is they keep making them better and better, and the fuel injection guys still haven't caught up.
That's right.
Well, Brad, glad you could make it. It's a little bit different crew than what they normally have on their channels, but it's a fun crew.
That's what we're about, John. Fun.
Miss-
All the fun.
Oh, yeah.
Look.
Miss Katie says that PAW, they were rude.
They were, yes. They were rude.
PAW, whoa.
You remember the parts catalog?
Performance Automotive
It was
Warehouse.
this
Warehouse.
thick, looked like a phone
That-
book.
They were very rude to me as well.
Yeah.
And as a consequence,
Cost you a lot of
it
money.
cost me a lot of money. Yeah, probably back in the day when it happened, well over $100,000.
Okay. So Buick Smith is wanting a continuation of what they touched
Oh,
on us. Here
Lord.
we go. Here we go.
Get up on the high board.
You just caught a big wave with a
Yeah.
9-foot board here. How about going into exhaust tuning? They were
Reflective
talking about
wave.
this on the Wednesday Tech Talk, and I said that
Well,
could be a topic of its own.
Wait a minute. Was this Richard's Tech Talk?
No,
No.
this was Dallas, and
Dallas
Professor
and-
P
Yeah.
night before last.
Professor P.
Yeah, Shane Polito, Professor P. He's on every Wednesday with Dallas Brown on their Tech Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've
Where
ever
have
seen
I been?
Here
I
in
don't know
Holland.
either of those names.
You don't? Well, you should.
You
would
should.
enjoy it,
I
yeah.
feel I should, but now, did I know them before my brain surgery?
No.
So that's fair.
Yeah.
Right,
But for
okay.
Professor P, he's an engineer.
He's in our same circle.
Yeah. Yeah, Dallas.
They're both in our same circle.
Yep, Dallas, founding member of the No Name Nationals, president of AHRA, and Professor P. He is an engineer for TCI Group.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they
that'll probably-
but they had some of these exhaust tuning questions come up, and they said, you know what, that'd be a great topic for Friday since we're having Vizard and Anderson.
I right now I'm working on a video It's my comments on comments, and I am going to, how shall I say, take a very large performance channel to task by putting on some formulas which are at best bad, right? At worst, they're thoroughly useless. And the thing is that this is what's commonly used.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to make a bet now that 99 out of 100 people who've done a university deal on engines will quote these formulas, and they're wrong.
Because somebody quoted them to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, when I say they're wrong, they're right by chance.
You know what they call that? They call that institutional inbreeding. They've regurgitated what they've heard before, and nobody's ever
I didn't
verified
know that,
it.
right?
Yeah.
I did not know.
Echo
Anyway,
chamber.
that comment on comments will be coming out probably about Wednesday.
That'll be great. I'll share that. It comes out.
Yep.
You can tell how old somebody is by what they paid for their first carburetor. Where
That's
they
exactly
got it.
right.
You can tell that 209 is just a little older than us. He paid
Yeah.
$189 for a Holly from Super Shops. And Buff got
Man, we used to-
Stromberg 97s for a Y block.
Well, there you go.
I'll tell you, Hollies are way cheaper than IDA Webers, right? I think back
Oh
in
my gosh.
1960 something, I paid about £300 for one carburetor. That is $660. Back in 1967, 68.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mind you, it was a magnificent carburetor.
It should be. I would expect it was.
Yeah, it was.
You know, that's actually pretty representative, I think, of what you would find today. I mean, honestly, if you're buying everything new, the machine work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's easy to have $1,100 tied up in just having a block machine work
Well,
done.
Nick is really conscientious. He will spend the money to make something right. But guess
Yeah.
what? Nick's stuff runs. It doesn't break down. He drives it to the track. The air conditioning works. Drives it home.
Yeah.
He puts, hundreds of thousands of miles on it. So guess what? Nick gets what he pays for.
Yeah. You put junk in, you're going to get junk out.
Yeah.
I mean, there are all kinds of coat hanger, bubble gum, and shoe goo people on YouTube that are trying to
Yeah.
make something work with nothing. But in reality, the guys who spend a little money come out pretty well. Nick's one of them.
It's just about spending the money in the right places, you know?
Nick is building something magical. I'm excited to see it. It's going to be good. Brett O'Connor wants to put Weber's on his 302 Ford, but cost.
Levi's Backyard Performance. I've never bought a carburetor. Is that bad?
Yeah.
Does that mean that everybody gives you them, or
No, he's
you're
just
all
too young.
on fuel injection?
He's a baby. How old is Levi?
I know exactly how old Levi is. Levi will be 24 in.
He's a
I won't say
2000 baby.
how he's almost 24. I won't say
He's a
exactly.
2000 baby.
Yeah.
That's why he's never bought a carburetor.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
I heard a story from TRD when they first started doing the NASCAR engines that and they had a team of Japanese engineers come over. Most of them were young, highly qualified, and one of them got a degree, and he said, what's a pushrod? they haven't built pushrod engines in Japan for 20 years before that. And they didn't know how a carburetor worked.
Yeah.
Daddy's Money Garage will race Casper on the condition he can only use reverse.
Okay, we'll do a race.
Where did you find this crowd?
See what kind of reaction?
This is my Friday crowd. I'm telling you.
Right.
Okay.
I didn't solicit this stuff.
Oh, dear,
Reaction time only. Then.
They're very entertaining, John.
Or, well, no,
Speaking of that, interestingly, he mentioned reverse.
he likes trying to.
So our friend John Cope has designed a valve body for the Demolition Derby crew. And it has only first, reverse, and neutral. And the band stays on, the low reverse band stays on all the time so that you're not beating the band to death in the derby.
Yeah.
Keeps them breaking it. And you don't have park, and you don't have second, and you don't have third. And that way you can go back and forth and keep from breaking it.
So you
That's
saying
kind of
watch out for the Mopar guys again?
That's a neat piece of technology where most people never think about
No,
it.
and the thing is most people won't realize he's got it.
Yeah.
Well, they will. They'll figure it out. but that's what brakes on those cars, that low reverse. I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. And that's a lot of pressure to be
But
going
see-
off and on and off and on. His just stays on.
But see, that's the difference between John Cope. He'll take a niche market like that and chase that rabbit for them, you know?
Yeah.
Just like the E4OD 4R100s.
I don't know what unfinished project. Yeah, go for it. Okay. I'm gonna find this. And I gotta check my see, I have some of them message me real time. This one's for you. I'll give this to you later. But let me find the picture. So Unfinished Project said he has joined the Tunnel Ram Mafia
Yes.
with a 6-pack.
Well, that's one way of calling a 6-pack. Yeah.
It's only got 2 carburetors.
Yeah, but look at the back. It's a 2-barrel Carter BBD.
Oh, and a 4-barrel.
I'm going to see if you guys can see this. That's Unfinished Project 6-pack. He's got
But-
a 4-barrel and a 2-barrel BBD.
That's almost about like what Don did, wasn't it?
He has a 1-barrel. He has a Holly 1920 in the back and a Carter in the front.
Yeah.
So Unfinished Project is the only guy who has simultaneously joined the 6-pack syndicate and the Tunnel Ram Mafia at the same time. How about that?
Interesting.
Miss Katie says, talk Cleveland then, please. What do you want to know about the Cleveland? I was reading about the Cleveland this
I
last
need
week.
to-
You know, I have been trying to get around to building a Cleveland. I think I've left it too late. Right. But
No, I'll get us a Cleveland to build. Tim Halstead's already said he's got one sitting in the shop.
wait,
floor
wait a
for me.
minute. A Vortec 4200. What is a Vortec 4200?
It's the inline 6.
Has it got 4 valves per cylinder?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to work then.
Yeah, for those,
It's going to cost a bunch. Doing polyquad to the full extent is not cheap.
No,
Right.
but it's worth it.
But if you want to win races,
It will
That's the way
set
to
you
go.
apart from everyone else.
I mean, we've only done one race engine, and on the track, it just devastated everything. It didn't win. It absolutely destroyed the opposition, like they were a bunch of amateurs, right? And the irony here is our guy was the amateur. That was the thing.
Nick wants to race Andy for dessert at Lambert's. That's the wager.
Well, I mean, you gotta. Depends on where I'm parked at, I guess.
Oh goodness. This is what you call, friendly. This is friendly stuff,
Yes, that would definitely make a killer poster.
Yes. Oh yeah. That's one that we'll get some cameras down there for sure.
I got a question I want to ask the audience.
Sure.
Is there anybody out there who is building a 351 Windsor? Because I've got some parts that I would like to have tested on that engine. Pair of cylinder heads, iron ones, right, with a modifications on them that can be done in a machine shop really quickly and produce good results. Well, at least I hope they're good results. Flowbench says so. Plus 2, maybe 3 intake manifolds.
That's what I was talking about. Shop 209. The learning curve with EFI is really steep. Most people don't understand that.
Michael Robert Embry. Yes, I'm going to the No Name Nationals, right?
Right on. DV, the plan is to be there.
So, is it okay if we talk about what our plan actually is
Sure.
a little bit?
Sure, of course.
So, I was going to say this for when I go to Coates to pick up the Casper-Matic, but I think this is a great place to do it since it's No Name Nationals headquarters. Casper is going to do a drag and drive. Casper will be driven from Charlotte, North Carolina to Sykeston, Missouri, raced, and then driven home.
That's assuming it doesn't break at the track.
Well,
Anything
no,
can
if
happen.
it breaks at the track, he's
Oh,
probably okay. If it breaks anywhere else.
Yeah, I've got enough people there. We can fix something.
Oh yeah,
duct
you'll
tape
have
it.
an army of help
Yeah,
there.
duct tape it back together.
We got another 100 yards out of a block that had a rod thrown through the side. We don't fix anything.
Yeah. Don't put anything past
Oh,
us.
yeah.
The question is, what part shouldn't I take? And that'll be the part that breaks.
I remember you packed clutches for the high gear drum of the transmission.
Literally.
Last time you were on a
I
trip
had
like that.
I had extra valve train components,
Rocker arms,
rocker
lifters.
arms. I had everything.
Yeah.
But no connecting rod was in my spare box.
Well, it's okay. We were going to run it on 7. We
Yeah.
just locked it up.
Talking about PAW, Harvey Crane checked one of their cheap camshafts,
Yeah.
and he said it was a 10th generation copy of one of his.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh.
Right? And he said the dynamics on it were terrible.
Your
But you only get what
LSA,
you pay for.
your LSA was different on every cylinder, right?
Yeah.
The airflow is going to be the same. The fuel the carburetor has to be able to flow the additional amount of fuel for the E85.
Yes, the air size of it is
It's-
not quite as critical as it
Yeah.
can be. What you're better off having a carburetor which is slightly smaller because it breaks up the fuel better.
Yeah. And with the E85, that's an issue.
Yes.
That is an issue. Atomization,
Exactly.
because you're dumping so much extra fuel, and then you have the cooling effect of it as well. So you don't have the heat in the intake tract like you normally
Everything
would.
in your favor is working against you.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Literally.
There's Jeremy Finley. If you haven't seen it, you need to. So first of all, Jeremy, you're running your car again. You're running short track stuff, right? His father was a mud racer. So you remember when you see the mud racing on TV?
Yes.
Yeah, his father was a mud racer.
That is
And they're
awesome.
from my hometown. And I see him in here on Fridays on occasion.
Mud racing is something that I think is cool.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Not if you don't like getting muddy. It
well,
isn't.
I mean, it's cool to watch.
I went to a lot of trouble to get myself a dirt car. Right? I had a company build the rolling chassis for me, and I did the engine for it and a lot of the other stuff. And when this car rolled out, the first dirt racer to see it said, "That is way too pretty to race."
Yeah.
And what I found was that I spent more time cleaning it
Than anything
than I
else.
did driving it. And getting it dirty, just let me tell you, dirt track racing has got to be the most fun thing. But you want an army of people to do all the hard work for you. So you just get to drive it, right? That didn't happen, right? I drove it and I had to do all the dirty work as well. And I thought, I can't deal with this anymore. My
Screw
beautiful
this.
car keeps getting dirty. And I would spend 5, 6, 7 hours getting it clean again.
How do you weigh a dirt track car? I mean, the weight would change 100 pounds during the race.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Easily.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's so long ago now that I did that. I remember that the engine I built, I had the guy who was a tech inspector come over and check all the parts I was using, because I said, I just have this feeling that somebody's going to say, Vizard's got to be cheating. He's never done this before, and his car's already faster than ever. Right? And we put it all together, and he watched me put it together. Right? And then the next day's over, and we put it on the dyno and broke it in, tested it, adjusted everything. And I said, how does that look? And he says, well, he said, the 2 brothers who are currently leading, I've been to the dyno with both of their engines, and yours kicks their ass. Right? Now, here's the thing. Got to the track, couldn't hook it up anywhere.
Yeah.
I could not hook it up. Right? Was I the fastest with all that extra power?
No.
Hell no. Everybody and their mother passed me. I just went up in a cloud of dirt. So that got the car dirtier as well.
I can see you wearing the goggles, the British countryside goggles, and getting covered in mud, and takes the goggles off, and there's the eyes. I can just see you doing
Have
that.
his Jackie Stewart hat on with the goggles.
Yes.
Right, but no, seriously. I only did a couple of events dirt racing, and let me tell you, fun should be the middle name. It should be Dirt Fun Racing.
Yeah.
Shop 209, Professor P was talking about using the crayon for. So, what are your thoughts about using like the wax pencil for trying to tune
that's
header on?
mostly bullshit.
That's what Professor P said on Wednesday. He
Yep.
said it all just burns up. You can't
That's
effectively.
mostly bullshit. Funny enough, I was told that originally by a guy who was no less a Formula One engine designer. Right? And I said, "Are you serious?" He's not really. Don't tell everybody else.
Yeah.
You talk about this. Our friend Professor P, he actually he has a custom cam and he assigned it a grind number, and the grind number is literally 3/4 cam.
Yeah.
He assigned it that so that he can say he has a 3/4 cam.
Yeah.
I love some of this stuff repurposed like that. Dust Devil says, I just compared the price of a 650 Holly Brawler to a 650 Edelbrock VRS. The difference is $99 on Summit.
Yeah.
I would like to see someone throw 2 Brawlers on a tunnel ram and drive it out of the box like Andy did.
I've used some brawlers, not in double form, but
No.
single. And I thought it was pretty good value for money.
Yeah.
They
are.
They weren't the best, but they were good. Right? But if you wanted a carburetor that made a bit more power, you were paying a lot more money for it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Brad O'Connor says, my 302 is fuel injected. It's an Australian car, 2000 AU Ford XR8 Ute, whatever that is.
The
Sounds
utility
exciting.
vehicle.
Yeah.
You know,
Really slow.
It's like a El
hey,
Camino
you guys,
looking thing.
you guys in Australia, I am an honorary Australian. My mom was Australian. That's how come I've spent so much time in Australia.
Brian, the reason why they're saying that is because they're Holly guys that are in denial. That's why that is. Okay.
I have exactly one problem with the VRS. You know what it is?
What is it?
Money.
No, I'm so old school. I can't get over it. It's not that zinc dichromate finish.
Yeah.
It just looks so weird
You know
to
what?
me that it doesn't
John,
have
you
that.
can't. This would be hard to believe. My next comment was going to be, "It's not the right color."
It's not. It's just
I
not.
cannot believe.
It's a Holly that's Edelbrock color. It's just
Oh,
Yeah.
and here's the thing. Did we
Doesn't
say
work.
this when it doesn't have a regular Venturi, right?
Yeah.
It's not a Venturi as such. It's just doom, doom. There's
And it's
no
machined.
and there's no curves
Really?
on it.
It is a machine.
it's not
Venturi.
cast.
No.
So
Ready? Again.
no. It's totally unique in that regard.
Buick Smith says, it's a question for you. In an engine running on liquid propane, would overlap be good on the cam? Or would no overlap like a boat be better?
Yes. Now, okay, that's a good question, right? Let me.
I've never messed with propane.
Well, I've only done street propane motors, but I did drive a turbocharged propane motor done by Art. He's the guy that was most instrumental in the development of the turbo offy engine, right? And I can't remember his name, and that's all brain surgery. This guy's
Ack Miller.
Ack Miller. That's it. Thank you.
Brilliant guy.
Let me tell you, Ack Miller should have been a professional comedian, right? The guy could tell jokes morning till night. I know because I've experienced it. But he lent me his straight six Australian engined. What's the car that came out as a cheap one and it had a back like that? It's a four-seat sedan, cheap one. It was Ford. It's a Ford, and it had a 6-cylinder engine in it.
Trino? Was this a
No.
American Ford? Or
Yeah, it's American Ford, but it was definitely not a performance one.
Okay,
Right? It
I
was
don't know.
a shop.
Most
It was
of
grandma's shopping machine
Watch
with a
your mouth.
fastback on it. What?
He said most of them over there.
Yeah.
Watch your mouth.
Anyway, the point is, it had the an engine which was mostly the Australian one. The Australian cylinder head for that six, as I remember it, was at the time one of the most advanced porting chamber designs out there for a pushrod engine, right? and it was turbo, and it ran on propane, right? So, and he lent it. He says, drive around a block and see what you think. Well, to talk about coincidence, I end up at the traffic lights with two teenagers who are boasting the absolute latest Ford rocket ship, whatever that was, right? This turbo 6-cylinder thing, you couldn't hear it. I mean, it sounded quieter than stock. The fact that it made like 550 horsepower was completely hidden. Well, that's more than this V8 had. There's a 429 or 427. Anyway, guy looks at me and he goes, so I give him the thumbs up. He didn't know what hit him. Now, let me tell you, that motor on propane drove like it was an electric motor. It really did. So propane, to start with, that's a very good fuel. Now, as for the camshaft for it, I'm thinking that it isn't going to be much different to what you'd have on gasoline. But where propane really seems to come into its own is in a turbo motor, right? You don't need much boost. I mean, I think this thing I was driving only made about 18 pounds of boost, but it was awesome.
18 pounds, that's all.
That's all. That's it.
Well, yeah, but look, it ate that 427 or 429 or whatever it was Mustang, easy. Now, most exhaust systems I do per customer request is totally wrong for their application and for bad performance for any application, all about achieving a look and sound that sucks for most folks.
Yeah.
So this is a good question Nick has here. What would be probably the 3 worst things people do on their exhaust systems for performance? If you had to pick the 3 worst exhaust mistakes people make. Good question for either and both of you.
Right. Well, here's the thing that really kind of I shake my head at. Guys will come in and they'll have the exhaust system made. And they say, well, where it goes up over the axle, I want it 1/4 of an inch bigger diameter because of the curve, right? So they do that. They've never thought to see how much the muffler flows, right? The muffler is usually the big cork in the system, not the piece going over the axle. They've done all their research other than on the muffler. That's like saying, I'll have an ice cream sundae, please, but I don't want any bananas or strawberry ice cream or mint or just vanilla.
Well, see, they don't do any research. They do reading.
Yeah.
There's reading and there's
I hope
research.
when they read my stuff, they get better advice.
Oh,
than
yeah.
that. Now, that's one reason.
Right.
Second, this is common on dirt cars, right? The collector ends at the collector. There's no secondary pipe on it.
Yeah. Extension.
They don't realize how much.
How many foot-pounds?
Yes, they're losing. The primary lengths are not very important because everybody's got the wrong one anyway, because a V8 requires 8 different lengths and nobody does that. A lot of people are trying to get that all the same, right? All the same lengths.
Nope.
Well, that means 7. If one's right, 7 of them are wrong.
Right.
Now, and then it gets to the collector and they leave it. So they've gone to all this trouble to get the primary pipes right, which are indifferent in effect. And the bit that really makes the difference, they ignore it. That's the second thing. The third thing is almost everybody errs on the big side for the primary pipes. That is not what you should do. If you're not sure and you're going to use the full RPM range from, say, the top of 3rd gear to the top of 4th or the top of 2nd to the top of 3rd, you really need, if you haven't got that option, to err towards the smaller side because the torque will be up. And it's torque that wins races.
Yep.
That's excellent. You know what? That right there is what was worth people's while for sitting through all the other craziness we do.
All the other bullshit
all that
we've
good
done.
stuff.
But going back to Shop 209, from my experience, talking about the secondary collector length, 16 to 18 inches seems to be a pretty good sweet spot.
Yeah.
In general,
In general.
Crane Fireball.
Woo!
That's
That-
an old grind.
That's an old
Now,
grind.
That's about the time Harvey was also selling cylinder heads, I think.
Yep, and he had
40.
Fireball cylinder heads too.
Yes, yeah. Good old Harvey.
Andrew Nelson asks, what power gain does DV think a polyquad valve job would make on a Vortex? What kind of power gain difference?
Well, first
What's it
off,
worth?
Andrew, let me say something here. Right? A polyquad is not a valve job in itself. That's just part of it. And when we tested back to back, or when tests were done back to back between a conventionally modified 4-valve race head done by a very competent guy versus a polyquad head on a 2-liter turbo engine, the difference was 110 pounds-feet and 100 horsepower.
At the same boost level.
Actually, 2 pounds less.
Yeah.
Cope says reverse is all Andy has now.
That is not far from the truth right there. I have the Slip-O-Matic.
Hello, Sherry. Yeah, you're getting close to having 5 neutrals in a park. Getting close.
I'm probably 3 runs away from it.
Jeremy says my carbs run between 800 and 1400. Jeremy, I know it's peak season for you, but you need to get your boys to do their thing and take off some time in September and come up to the No Name Nationals. Come have some fun with us.
Oh, we're going to have fun if nothing else.
Oh, yeah. We got to get together and do a video too. Jeremy, let's put something on the calendar on Monday. Do a video.
The carb that I've always wanted to do something with is the inline Autolite.
Oh, I'm scared to death to work on one of those.
I would give anything to
I
find
tell
one.
you what, yep, and me. If it didn't work when I got it, it would after.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't care if it's
I just
a Weber when we're done with it. It'll look super cool.
I would just turn it into an inline 4-barrel Weber.
That's what I was going to say.
Have you ever seen a truck, DV, that has braided ponytails down the sides?
Woo!
Well, you have now.
There's a
Do they
first
fly
for
around in the breeze?
Yes, from what I understand.
Does
they
he
do.
have that bumper sticker?
Colleen has that, by the way.
Oh.
Let's see here. Mexican Spec just hit 1,000
Congratulations.
subscribers. Congratulations, yes. Let's see if we can catch up here. Thumper says, I've been in the Tri-Power tribe for some time now.
They're super cool.
Dougster's talking about a cleaver build. I think my favorite cleaver on YouTube is Dallas's.
Yes.
That's something DV needs to see.
Yes.
My friend Dallas's cleaver.
That's the Cleavor setup.
That's the
seems
best.
to be
Best all
something
around.
that got the ball going on that before there were all these fancy cylinder heads, right? But I've never done one of those, spectate cams and things like that.
Jeremy Finley throws his $2 super chat. Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. We have what are we going to do with the D3 heads in there? We've got to build something for those. We actually have a set of Yates D3 heads in there.
Yep.
That's
I've got to get
really
really putting
wicked.
new valve seats in them.
Yeah.
Not in all of them.
But is that the one we're going to do the flat plane crank in?
No. That's those two over there. They're priceless. I don't know. They got to be $10,000 or $12,000.
That's the ones I'm talking about. We need to do something with those heads.
Those are hybrid D3s.
Yeah.
I've got a pair of D3s in the shop, in the extension here, the grinding room, that have never been finished.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They are brand new. And they are based on Don Lucito's top port for that CC volume.
Yeah.
Right? They made
What is that
big
question?
horsepower.
Big Mike says his 65 Dart. Someone said today it had 13-inch wheels in the front and 14-inch in the back. Does this sound feasible? I've never seen that in my life.
I've never seen it either.
I've seen them with 13s and I've seen them with 14s.
But
It
never
depends on the brake
mixed.
size, but never mixed. Somebody's done that.
Now, is that 13 and 14 side to side?
Unless-
back? Oh, that's front
Well,
and back.
Would that be something that's specific to the 273?
I've
271
never
horsepower?
seen that. I've never seen that. Because when they upgraded brake sizes on one end, they did on the other too.
Yeah.
I've just never seen
I don't know.
I wasn't around then, so but I don't think so. And people will tell you a lot of stuff. It amazes me the authority with which somebody will say something,
And it's the gospel.
it just never existed, and they have no problem.
Yeah.
Terrence Snell, are you descendant of the Snell helmet people? I don't know. Just rebuilt the 351 Windsor last year for 24 hours of Le Mans 1981 Mustang we built. 24 hours of lemons. 24
We
hours
need
of
to do
lemons
that.
Mustangs.
Well, I checked up with them to see if Jackie's Road Race Mustang would be eligible. And they said, actually, you can enter a brand new Ferrari. You'll get a big penalty, like 50 laps.
Just let it happen.
Right. And I said, well, we
Do
were
it.
going to check the reliability of the engine. So
Yeah.
our goal was to check reliability, not winning a race was.
Take the penalty and just blister them all day. Just do it. Who
yeah,
cares?
oh, yeah.
That would be so
Look,
funny.
it doesn't, that event there, I've watched a few on video. That event,
It looks so
24
much fun, though.
That's right. You're going to have fun if you don't break down, but you just finish the race. It doesn't matter if you're dead last. You will have fun,
Sure.
right? You can split the driving. I think 4 people is about the right
Yeah.
number. Isn't it? Split the driving up between 4 and 6 people. If they're all your buddies, you go there, and it's a racing party, isn't it?
Mhm.
That's what it is in Tobago and Trinidad all the time, right? The racing stops, and everybody starts the barbecue and the rum and coke.
Dizzy says came with 13s, and Dizzy and I agree on that. I'll highlight that. That's uncommon.
Wait a minute. What's Levi saying about fuel?
Levi's saying fuel injection allows for more fuel versus a carb, at least at this point in history.
That's not true.
I don't really know why that is.
That's not true.
Because I've not seen fuel injection make more outright power.
No. No, you can always get a carburetor to flow more fuel.
Well,
You're just working with the
I
wrong
think
carburetor.
carburetors also have a better droplet distribution curve than fuel injection, and that's why they make more horsepower. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, who I got to say is bordering on an outright genius, and I'm serious. I think he's got an IQ of about 180, but he used to be head of Chrysler's combustion development. And he was telling me that a carburetor can out mileage a fuel injection every time until the fuel pressures get to about 100 plus PSI, which of course the fuel injection won't last very long at that. But most of the ability of a carburetor to outperform a fuel injection system on certain parameters like mileage, outright power, maybe outright torque as well, all depends on the fuel curve, not the fuel mixture, but the fuel distribution curve and atomization.
Yeah. And that's where I think the VRS has the upper hand to other carburetors. The fuel curve is far more advanced than anything else out there.
We were talking about that at dinner, the way the circuits talk to each other.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. Mean Street Mopar's in here. Mean Street, by the way, we have, I believe, 9 people right now in the No Name 500, which is what we call the race before the race. They're trying to get their 500 subscribers. And Mean Street Mopar is one of them. He's at 142. He's got 358 to go.
It can happen.
By the way, if you're going to find a transmission for your truck, your shortest path to victory is look for an A999.
Yeah.
And then you'll get the upgrade of having a lower first gear. It'll make a 305 effective rear end in the truck because you're getting 11% more first gear. That's totally what I would do in your truck.
I tell everyone, you're one video away from getting 500
Yep.
subs. Take
Yep.
for instance,
You.
Frizzell. Well, me, but
I
Frizzell.
remember you.
Frizzell Racing, man, his channel just exploded
Yep.
over the past few weeks. You know, he's over 4,000 subs now. It's crazy. Just get the right video.
Nick the Van Man says, I'm running a 350 CFM Keith Norton NASCAR Holly 2300 to combat poor atomization and the notoriously bad distribution in my 300 Ford.
There you go. Keith Norton is very good.
And it's great as a statement.
We need
but
to
I
have
didn't see a question there, right?
We need to have Keith Norton on one of our lives.
Yeah.
He's just up the road here. From
Wow.
us.
Jeremy says, I'm undefeated so far this year, 6 races in. Right on. Well, Jeremy, text me a picture of your car. I'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
I have yet to see your car. Levi says, fuel pumps at that level are inline pumps or belt driven or cable driven. Okay. Mexican Spec says, you don't understand the simplicity of a car that has 5 fuses for the whole car. Let me tell you, that's 5 more fuses than some people we know.
Yeah, that's true. Straight wire everything to the battery and hope for the best.
I know people who literally have said, I would rather the car burn down
Yes.
than chase a fuse.
I know who you're talking about.
Street Fox 50 says, hello, John Wilbur, David, and Andy.
Howdy, sir.
Howdy, Street Fox Mike. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Why am I not at all surprised that Dizzy has 3 fuses in his old car? Dizzy, what 3 circuits do you have fused on that car? What 3 are they?
He's probably got a fuse immediately coming off the battery.
I want to know what 3. I'm curious to what 3 they. I'm telling you, he's got the Jenny fuse box. 8675309. That's it.
Yeah.
Jenny's fuse box has 3 fuses.
For a
in
good
it.
time.
Yeah. Another guy running our No Name 500 looking for his 500 subscribers. Absurd Ty Higgins is at 493.
7 away.
400.
So he's got to get it
He
tonight.
could get it
Yes,
tonight,
you're
actually.
gonna get that
7
tonight.
subs. I mean, come on.
If you guys have not yet checked out the Absurd Ty Higgins channel, it's interesting. He's a tattoo artist in Nashville. He's a van guy, nice guy.
Really?
And he's 7 subs away. And we think he's trying to take as long as he possibly can to get to 500. He's 7 away. So if you haven't yet checked out his channel, go check it out. If you earned your subscription, subscribe, and he will become an alumnus tonight. And then second place will be RT211 Racing.
Yes.
Will then be the new leader in the No Name
The
500.
new leader. Where's he at?
He's about 420 something. He's
Okay.
close. Yeah, 426. See, unfinished project.
Own it.
Right, always. Nothing gets
Own it.
by that guy. Nothing. And then Buff Del Campo, he's close too.
Yeah, he's really close.
Yeah, we got several.
Man, we go way back.
He says that his Angry Vagrant Valiant was ordered with delete everything. Now,
Very
Tony doesn't
possible.
care what color the carburetor is. Tony, the Holly has got to have that color finished. That's just me.
You know what?
That's just me.
Look. I had a bit. No. I'm going to speak on this because I had heartburn.
Yeah, you
There's
go
a
for
reason
it.
why I chose the Dominators and dichromate. Because that period correct.
Yeah, period.
Yes.
That's right.
You
It's all
know,
about
but
it.
let me tell you what happens. Okay, this is my experience. You put those things on there, and this thing drives better than a fuel injected car out in the driveway. And then all of a sudden, that dichromate does not matter anymore. You're just like, wow, I can't believe how this thing drives.
Yeah.
The dichromate, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'll tell you, I powder coated a Holly for a custom look.
And
Well, I
dichromate
tell you what,
oxidizes.
It's
over
a
time.
long ass job.
Yeah.
Stripping that carburetor down
Yes.
and doing all the masking this off and that, and then
What was that about Ack Miller? Ack Miller.
Well-
Yes. Show that. What was that? Said something about Ack Miller wasn't an engineer.
Oh,
Dean put
right
it.
there, Dean. Dean says, Hack Miller wasn't an engineer. He did, however, love to chide engineers in his wonderfully funny Danish way.
Yeah,
Hack Miller was
that
just a
that
genius.
sounds like Hack right down to the core. But he was very instinctive about what he did. This is I remember he schooled me on turbo motors before I did any jobs for Chrysler. When they said, "Can you do a turbo motor?" I of course I said yes, because I always say yes to anything that's a challenge.
Yeah, he does.
And so the first thing I did when I hung up the phone, and I didn't know Ack at this time, but I called him up and said, "Could I come over and visit?" And being the congenial guy he was, "Sure, right, I'll have the coffee ready when you get here." Sure enough, what I wasn't warned of beforehand is the guy can't be serious for more than about 2 minutes. Anyway, the thing is I got an education from Ack that was, I got to say, it's probably second to none. And he gave me a rough idea of the specs my motor needed to be in terms of the turbos and all that. And he just pulled it off the top of his head. And you know what? The guy was right on the money. I could not believe it. He really was.
Brilliant.
And so he may not have been a diplomaed engineer, but God blessed him with engineering skills way above average. Smokey Unit was very similar. Smokey never had a formal education, right? And one of the best compliments I ever had from Smokey was, he said, "You're just like me, but with a PhD." Now, I don't actually have a PhD because I did my university and college training in England, right? And it's slightly different over there, but I'm about equivalent to a PhD over here. And the thing was, Smokey said, "I can explain it in good old rustic backcountry language," but he said, "You put all the right words there and make it make sense a lot quicker." Right. And I thought, wow, that's great coming from that. Now, Smokey was one of my heroes, right? Guy. Well, he was a bit like Hack Miller, like I said. Instinctive engineer.
One cat has a tech question. Having to run log exhaust manifolds because of clearance, how much will it restrict me with putting a decent cam in this engine? So Don is building a mild 440. He's running a cam that's awfully big for it, and he's got factory exhaust manifolds.
Not good.
Not good.
Because what will happen is the back pressure will destroy much of the effectiveness of the overlap.
If you put the right cam in
it will dilute the incoming charge with exhaust. It will also heat up the incoming charge. So you've got this situation where diluting it with exhaust cuts the likelihood of detonation, but heating up with the exhaust increases the chances of it detonating. So at the end of the day, it could be one or the other.
It's better to put the wrong cam in that situation.
It's better to use a short cam. Now, here's one thing. Cast manifolds are so bad that if you port them, it can make a huge difference because you've gone from a disaster to just being bad.
Yeah.
Right? And here's the other thing. Using tubular pipes with a good joint makes a difference. I did some tests from Mr. Gasket on the exhaust systems from the exhaust manifold back, and there was a big difference between not paying attention to it and paying attention.
I will tell you one of the biggest power robbers in most exhaust systems, and most people don't realize it. That is a ball and socket collector.
Oh, yes.
Those things kill power.
Now, I would like to say they suck, but they actually blow.
Yeah, they do blow. But the cone that comes down like this comes down, and then you have the pipe that comes up. That narrowing down, I mean, it
really screws it up, doesn't it?
It does.
Way more than you'd expect.
As much as 20 horsepower, if not more.
Does that transition make a problem with the scavenging?
Yes.
It's like a reversion problem?
Yes, it causes all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And power loss across the board.
It's not hard to lose 15 to 20 horsepower.
It's not.
Right. Now, I want to make a comment on somebody was saying, well, I don't use Hollies because they suck. Well, let me tell you, a carburetor is supposed to suck.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a carburetor that blows, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
One more follow-up on this polyquad here. He says, how much difference do you get, I guess, in flow numbers on that valve job from stock head to ported head?
Not that much. The advantage comes with the fact that you've now got swirl, or actually twirl. It tumbles and swirls, right? And that's an asset right there. Secondly, the chamber gets scavenged better without so much of the loss of the intake charge going out the exhaust. So what you end up with is the trapping efficiency of the fresh charge goes up. So this is what gives you the torque. More fresh charge in the cylinder because it's not going out the exhaust.
Yeah.
And secondly, it burns better because it's twirling. Now, let me make a point here. I've heard it said umpteen times, well, these chambers are really good. I mean, look at that centrally placed plug. That's the worst place to put a plug, right in the middle, right? That's why they have to make these tumble, because if it swirls, it's not moving at the center. It's like you're standing at the North Pole. You're not moving. You're just going round in a very small circle. Right at the equator, you're moving like 1,050 miles an hour. So ideally, you need the spark plugs all around the edge, not in the middle. Now, a dual spark plug, like on the Chrysler engine,
The new Hemi.
the Hemi, yeah, that is very good. Now, if you have too much compression with a Hemi or a tumbling engine, the compression quenches it. But the fact you've got two plugs in that Hemi engine means you have two spots which can get the influence of the quench on it. So they burn very well. I spoke to the engineers that did the work on that dual plug system, and they were targeting a world-class idle. That's what they got. Right. So it's well thought out. But with the polyquad, the tumble and swirl join, but they don't rotate about the center. It's off to one side. It kind of does this.
It's like an amusement ride at the
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. And so the motion at the spark plug is not only the tumble, which is good, but the tumble is rotating as well at probably about 1/4 of the speed that it is at the periphery. That's better than nothing that you normally get. So that's where the extra power is. Actual flow curves, not much difference.
Okay, excellent.
That's a question. Cylinder head engine performance is not just a question of airflow.
The way he phrased it, I'm so glad that you got the context of what he asked before, because I had forgotten when I saw that follow-up, that addenda, because I always try to be mindful of the context that the first part or second part is asking, because when you see the words for the third, if you lose that, it makes me, I lost it and you picked it up. So good for you. You fixed it for me. Dakota says, by the way, Dakota here, how old's Dakota? 20 years old? Something like that. We've known him since he was 16. He is a really promising young gearhead.
Yeah.
That guy, he's no BS. He builds good stuff. We're going to see great stuff coming.
Oh, yeah.
But he's asking a question. I'd like to know what y'all think about piston coatings. He says
that's another subject we could talk about.
He wants to try it on his Pontiac 455, about a 500 horsepower street 455.
Well, if I'm building a high output motor, and this applies for probably the last 30 years, I'm not going to build it without coatings on.
Yeah.
Right.
He's all
I
about
have
coatings.
never had a piston fail in a turbo motor or a nitrous motor where the pistons have been coated. Period. Never. Not even close to it. Now, there's quite a few coating companies, but one that I would think that you should get in touch with for skirt and crown coating is line to line. That's LINE 2, letter number 2, LINE.
Yep.
Right. That's what we're currently using most on our serious engines. And those top fuel guys in the know are using that coating on their piston crowns. And that's a real test. If it survives that, it'll survive anything you throw at it in gasoline fuel engines.
This is a good one.
Nick's asking, could Vizard explain the difference between the CFM rating of a 2-barrel versus a 4-barrel carburetor?
Yes.
Everyone tells me my 350 CFM Holly is only 247.
That sounds about right.
That's pretty close.
A 4-barrel carburetor, you measure the airflow by pulling 1.5 inches of mercury depression. That's approximately 20.3 inches of water. So the flow bench, if we're flowing ahead, it'd be 28 inches. If we're flowing a carburetor, it's 20.3. Now, that's for a 4-barrel. But if we're flowing a 2-barrel, right, the flow spec for that is at 3 inches of mercury, which obviously be 40.6 inches. So if you flow a 2-barrel on the same depression as you flow a 4-barrel, your 350 will only actually flow 247 or thereabouts. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it's in the rating.
Clayton's Toolbox says hood scoops, forward facing or backward facing?
Yeah.
Which works better?
Well, look, here's the
Don't
thing
use
there.
one like it's on Casper, okay? That's moral of the story.
Wait a minute. Casper's hood scoop is better than most out there that look a lot fancier. And you know why?
It's a mailbox.
It's because there's a hole in the back of it.
Yeah.
So it does not end up being a total disaster on the boosters, right? It
Pretty
probably
close, but
still affects them. That's why we're investigating it.
Yeah.
Right now, here's the deal. If you have a forward-facing hood scoop, there's a lot of turbulence at the carburetor.
Yes.
Right? A great deal. And on the dyno, the air is fairly calm, right? It goes.
You're in a static
like
state.
And it's static. Now, in a car, when you've got the carburetor in the airstream or close to it, the air comes over it, tumbles, right? Changes pressure, all in different local spots, and it completely upsets the smooth flow going into the carburetor past the boosters.
You know what? I will do this video so people can see it because I've seen it.
Yep.
Mount my GoPro on an air cleaner stud, and you can actually see what it does to the booster.
It's horrible, isn't it?
It's horrible.
Yep.
It is horrible.
You look at it and say, how is this engine even running?
You do it on the dyno, and it looks completely different.
It looks real good, doesn't it?
It looks really good.
So what happens is you can't run a forward-facing hood scoop unless you're really lucky without putting something in which straightens up the airflow.
You need an air filter.
Yeah, now here's an interesting thing people don't realize. A paper air filter, and to a slightly lesser extent, a K&N air filter, the holes are so small that the Reynolds number is so high that the airflow coming out of the filter is laminar. It's not turbulent. So you have killed those big turbulent waves that go over the carburetor. And now, if there's any turbulence, it's very small. And that's actually an advantage, isn't it?
Yes.
That stirs up the mixture locally and makes it fire easier. So carburetors at the racetrack with forward-facing hood scoops should always use a filter. There's horsepower in it.
See, I'll tell you, John just got Exhibit A. This is a set of OG Mr. Gasket velocity stacks that came off of Casper. These were new old stock from 1977. I did a chassis dyno test. They made roughly 4 to 5 horsepower more, okay, than not having a filter at all. But you take it to the track, and in a dynamic
25 horsepower more.
Yeah, because now what's happening is the air is being calmed down above the venturi, and so you're not getting that booster buffeting and causing all sorts of distribution issues.
This is your dyno cell in a small package.
Yes.
Right?
It's not the velocity stack itself. It's not the shape of this, where a lot of people think, oh, you're funneling the air. No, what you're doing is you're taking the top of the carburetor out of the airstream so the carburetor can actually meter fuel properly.
The way it was designed to, yeah. Now, I've got a little story here, because at my age, I've got lots of little stories. Many years ago, when I was part of a team of 8 vehicles, and one of the guys was had a Formula Ford, and he was on a tight budget. Now, back at that time, Formula Fords, they were putting an engine in probably every 2 or 3 races, and his car, it was one engine, and when that wore out, he wasn't racing. So everybody was using an open carburetor sticking out through the bodywork.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I realized that this was going to get a lot of booster buffeting.
Yeah.
So we put an air filter on, right? And on our own testing, the car was 4 miles an hour faster down the old club circuit at Silverstone. That's about an 800-yard straight. You come onto it from a hairpin. And anyway, the air filter was very obvious on it. And a lot of the other drivers said, does that actually help? And so I told them, I said, well, not really, but we're prepared to take the hit because that's the only engine we got. So I lied.
Yeah.
They figured it out next year.
So I'll tell you an interesting story. Not many people know this, but Greg Brown actually worked for Warren Johnson.
Really?
And Kirk Johnson in Pro Stock.
Interesting.
So they go to the racetrack. This goes to show you the effect of what a hood scoop has. They decided they were going to make a run with the front end off of the car to see, because they were running tight on time. And so they put the car on the track, didn't have the front clip on it. It makes a pass. Fuel was going above the windshield of the car. It was actually pulling fuel out of the carburetors, slowed down about a half a second, and almost melted 3 pistons because they didn't have the front end on the car. That's how developed having the proper hood scoop can be.
And a half a second on a Pro Stock car.
That's huge.
Ever in a day.
Yeah. That's huge.
Nick, thank you for the super chat, by the way.
I seen Shane Polito in here.
Andrew Nelson says Holly Gold for me.
I love Holly Gold.
High five for that.
Look, I love it, but sandblasted aluminum, I'm good with that. Whatever color that Otterbrock is.
Smokey Unick wasn't an engineer either. Well, he might have been an engineer. He might not have had the degree, but he was quite an engineer.
Not what's the word I'm looking for here? He was not a. Nope, I've lost it.
My daddy used to have a saying, and I don't know if you want me saying this or not on here, but Daddy said you got lawyers and then you got shithouse lawyers. That's one of Steve Wood's quotes.
All the ones I wanted just wanted to get me off of whatever the charge is.
Yeah, the one who knows what's going on.
Yeah. Now, Bad Tree says, I got a PhD out back in the shed.
Well,
there you go.
A post hole digger.
That's what I've got.
That's exactly right. Old McDonald says, what if it has the exhaust manifolds extrude honed? How much is that worth?
Well, extrude honed is one of those things where yes, no, right? It depends where you start off. Now, if you had some exhaust manifolds extrude honed to the limit, it would probably be well worth in terms of the effort put into it.
I think that's what most of those fast guys do.
Expense would be
unreal.
Yeah. Of course, nothing like that is going to beat a proper set of headers.
All right. And I'll tell you, a lot of these guys have great questions that deserve good answers. So we stay a little behind, but we're
They're on
getting
the
there.
wrong channel, then, aren't they?
We're getting there. Well, no, I got the right guess. It's the wrong channel, but it's the right guess. Buick Smith says, question. You like how he sets off the word question with
I like
question mark?
that.
You like that? Does increasing the compression also increase the fuel flame front in the cylinder after ignition?
Does it? Now, is the question, does it burn faster? And the answer is yes. Right? It will continue to, more or less, the more you raise the compression, the faster it will burn until eventually it detonates. And then that's almost instantaneous. You don't want that. Now, we're investigating a new form of detonation here that's just reared its ugly head in the last few years, that's very rarely talked about. And this new form of detonation, and I got one of my students working on this, the rate of burn is about the same as dynamite. Consequently, when it happens, you've got one firing stroke to destroy a piston. And it doesn't just burn a hole in it. There's bits in the pan. Now, I've heard of guys with EcoBoost saying, it detonated, didn't hear it detonate.
It just bam.
Yeah. One moment it's running perfectly all right, and then instantaneously, for all practical purposes, it's scrap.
About like a connecting rod on the side of I-40.
Anyway, just so that in case you will start worrying about that, there is a cure for it. It is called water injection. The world's cheapest and most effective octane booster you can buy, get, use, right? You cannot detonate an engine if you put water injection on it, because what's the octane value of water?
Infinite.
It's infinite. So it's never going to detonate until it gets to pressures like the interior of the sun. Well, we're never going to get there. Thousands of tons a square inch. Anyway,
Nick the
it's
Van
so
Man,
refreshing
thanks.
to hear a reference to Reynolds number.
That's
Yeah,
a very Andrew Nelson-like comment,
Yes.
by the way.
Now,
I love it.
interesting thing here, the Reynolds number was not invented by Reynolds, right? I can't remember the guy's name, but Reynolds used it to design weirs and ducts for canals. And that's where
It came
his
from.
use of it brought it up in that area.
You know what? So Nick the Van Man, I have his combination for his engine here. He says he wants to know how much you think he's given up with his 350 CFM 2300 over a 500 CFM Edelbrock. And for whatever it's worth, here's what he's running. You can check it out here, Andy. See if you see anything glaring in that list right there.
Well, Nick, here's the deal. It depends on how air-starved your engine is. If you've got a cam in there that peaks at 3,000, the 350 is probably going to show nearly the power as a 500.
This engine's going to want to rev a little bit higher. I mean, this thing is going to be pretty rowdy. I mean, it's 235 hydraulic cam on a 109. I mean, it's going to want to rev. I mean, you got to think about this. This is 300 cubic inch. If this was a 302 Ford, this wouldn't even be a question, But since it's an inline six, people were saying, well, I think it's probably given up at least 30, maybe more. But distribution, that's going to be an issue no matter what you do, and something you're going to have to pay attention to.
Unfinished Project asks a wacky type of question I kind of like here. Could open up a pair of two barrels on a tunnel ram as effective? Yeah, be as effective as restricting a pair of four barrels. I don't know.
It's like, I'm just wondering why you'd want to do that.
The answer is Dart Sport.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know exactly what to do with that Unfinished Project. I think I know what he means. So you know how when you talk about tuning with the tunnel ram, the engine's only going to want as much air as it wants.
Mm-hmm.
You're not tuning it with the air; you're tuning it with the fuel.
Well, here's the thing.
That's what I think he's wanting you to touch
have to
on.
remember, Imagine that carburetor is a door. When you open that door a short amount, the air going through it's going very fast, right? So but as you open that door up, the air slows down almost to a stop.
That's right.
So I can give you a perfect example. When you put two large carburetors on a very small cubic inch engine on a tunnel ram, I can tell you what will happen if you go wide open throttle. It will cut off.
Unless you're doing 10,000 RPM.
Yeah, but it will actually cut the engine off because the carburetor loses all signal and it's not pulling any more fuel, because you have to have the depression in order to pull fuel from the bowls.
You did that with a 306, didn't you?
Yes.
You had to get enough cubic inches to where it wouldn't do that.
That's exactly right. So I actually did that. I took two 600s, disabled the secondaries on both carburetors, and it ran great. You see what I'm saying?
You still have 4 barrels.
Still have 4
engine,
barrels. Yeah,
but,
so it's split 4 barrels.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, Dizzy, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it.
Yes.
And also, and I'm not saying this to solicit anything, but any super chat money my channel gets goes into the No Name Nationals.
It goes right back into the fund.
I have never spent a dime of my super chat money or YouTube monetization at all. All of my YouTube monetization goes into the No Name Nationals for whatever that's worth.
Probably nothing. But.
It paid for the movie last year.
Yeah, there you go.
It's to give back.
Are they going to be a movie this year or no?
Well, we'll see. I mean, we need turnout.
So look, I'm going to throw this out here right now. I put my money where my mouth was right at the very beginning, opening day. I registered. I was probably the third or fourth one.
Exactly. Uh-oh. What's it going to be? Where do you think you registered?
I'm going to say in the top 5.
You were the 8th.
Okay.
8th, yeah. You were the
So
top 10.
either way, if you're planning on coming to the No Name Nationals, don't wait around until the last minute. Go ahead, put your money where your mouth is, and then that will drive you to make good content to make it to Sykeston, Missouri.
And here's the deal here that's important. Tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
Now, my local neighbors, right? 2 of them have high performance cars. They knew nothing about the No Name Nationals. Now I've told them about it.
Yes.
They're coming, right? Now that's
more for the gate.
Yeah.
More spectators. You never know.
You know what I would like to see? I would like to see an overwhelming crowd of cars there.
You know what? The thing is this is the community.
Yes.
And the more people we welcome and the more people we build, the more cars you'll have.
That's right.
We keep the quality of the community.
That's what it's
That's
about.
the most important thing.
But here's the thing.
Let's try and make it so we get 150 cars this year.
Oh, we'll have 150 cars. We should.
If you're in this chat and you haven't registered yet, you need to go to the website, nonamenationals.com, and register. Go ahead and get your name on the list. And if you do not have your 500 subs, get your channel up and going. Put it out there in the chat. And because I'm telling you, you can still do it. 132 days to make it happen.
But by the way, I remember very well when all 3 of us were No Name 500 guys before there was a No Name 500.
That's exactly
we
right.
have all been there before.
Look, I'm going to tell you what, and this is the God's honest truth. I'm coming up on 39,000, I think, something like that. I value those subs just like I did the first 10, the first 100. I haven't forgot what that was like, and I never will.
You would reply personally to every one of those first subs, and you still do it the same.
I tried to do it today,
just exactly the same way.
Yeah, I've had a lot of stuff going on this past month, and I haven't been able to do it as much. But yeah, personal contact, interaction with your viewers goes. It is well worth it.
Andy has never forgotten where he came from.
And you know what? As always. I have met some unbelievable people through this YouTube experience, if nothing else.
Absolutely.
And John and I.
Well, that's what's worth it all to me.
I mean, this dude didn't know me from Adam's House Cat, and he's sitting on the side of I-40 with me, me and my brother
I found
for
Andy,
4 hours.
I found Andy in the comments, and I said, "This guy's way too talented."
Like, this dude's crazy.
Jeremy Finley there. This is, I'll show you both of these. This is his father's mud racer right here.
Oh, cool. Dude, that's cool.
Yeah. That thing's wild. And then this is his car, which I hadn't seen yet. Now I know none of your employees are driving that. You could never let them. They'd be driving that on the street.
Yeah. But the air conditioning doesn't work well.
Dakota's asking, so you can build a 12-to-1 compression street engine with a small cam and have it run on low octane gas with water injection.
You got to be careful.
So yes.
You can be done.
Look, Dakota, here's the deal.
Don't run
When
out of
I was
water.
at college, we ran a tractor engine that, a massive Ferguson thing to plow fields. It had it ran on kerosene, which to get it to vaporize, it dropped onto a very hot plate and the vapor came off, and that's what the engine ran on. Now kerosene's got an octane rating of about 50. We ran 17-to-1 compression with water injection. And if you looked at the exhaust, about 2 feet after it came out the exhaust, the water would turn back to the steam. The vapor would turn back to steam. So you couldn't actually tell we were running a diesel.
He made a glorified steam engine.
It looked like a
what he
steam
did.
engine, right? But if you can run 17-to-1 on 50 octane fuel, then believe you me, you can figure that water is going to work with anything you buy at the service station.
But make sure you do not run out of that water and go hammering on it without it.
Here's a question that combines several of this guy's favorite channels, obviously. DV, comparing a 170 and 225 slant 6, they have a 1-inch stroke difference.
The 225 I would put my money on.
Which one would benefit more from Weber side drafts?
Yeah. Don't be tempted to put in a Venturi bigger than the engine wants, right? It's not a trick to put in the biggest one there and then try and calibrate it. You need to size that Venturi to what the engine is going to work best on. And that's not obvious when you first start.
Dr. Go asks, I love that name, Dr. Go.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Whenever I read Dr. Go off the page, I read it like I hear Gene Simmons singing Dr. Love. You're going to hear that now. You're going to hear that now. Dr. Go says, do stamped steel shaft rocker mounts for an LA 318 exist in 1.6? So in other words, like the factory.
I don't think so. I've never seen one.
Well, why? Well, I mean,
here's the thing: the 1.5s you have are not 1.5s; they're like 1.47s, 4.6s.
I will say that I have the comp cams, the steel rollers.
Yeah,
I think they're great.
Yeah.
Oh, the now is it got the needle roller on for the shaft or just the ball still?
Oh, it's the needle roller.
Oh, okay, because those comp cam ones and PWA, is it Performance
PRW?
PRW. They've got the one with it's cast and it's got the ball still, right? Two things. One, they're one of the stiffest rockers out there, and two, that those ball joints, those ball bearings will survive probably 100 miles with no oil.
Oh,
right.
Hope not to test that.
And they're cheap.
Go back. You can't put a small block Chevy stamp steel on an LA. Not going to happen.
Oh, goodness, no. That's a whole different
world altogether.
No, but I can tell you a channel where you can watch experiments done with the Chevy rockers for years on end.
Yeah.
So for those of you who know about the 2-year-long valve adjustment, we saw a car that looked just like that on the way to dinner.
And
it's the same color and everything.
I said, look to the right.
It's the same color and everything. Oh my goodness.
I'm trying. Hey, he's trying to say that does the neighbors have 500 subs? We're trying to get them to get a channel.
I'm telling you, you know.
Well,
Doug is pretty.
Doug helps us out here, so
Yeah.
he comes under our.
Yeah, he's
umbrella.
always over here.
If he's an integrated part of your channel and you see him on your channel,
I need to put him in a video.
that's it. You do. Eric Miller says, "Hello guys. I recently installed a rebuilt 428 FE in my F250. That sounds cool for an F250. I like that. All new parts. The engine starts and runs good, but the oil pressure drops from 80 psi cold. As it warms up, it drops to 15 and clatters. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
What do you think about that?
You
I
got
think that's not good.
Yeah, I think you got clearance issues with bearing.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. What does your bearings measure there?
And what weight oil are you using? There's many different things, but
Yeah.
even putting 50 weight nitro oil in it's not going to do that much.
Yeah, unfinished project. Put up the link for the
There you
No Name
go.
Nationals. Landon says I started before the first No Name Nationals, hit 1,000 in 3 months. Yep. Eric says the rockers are adjustable and adjusted correctly. I'm planning to change the lifters to new ones as a solution. What were your bearing clearances? And what about the oil pump itself?
Yeah.
Dr. Go is at 26 subscribers. Well, right on, man.
Another thing
that's
is
it.
you can, well, it's an FE. It's all through the shaft. I don't know.
And Eric, there you go. Frizzell's the guy for that question right there.
Yes.
Bobby Frizzell's a good, he is the FE doctor.
He has way more knowledge of FEs than I do.
Andrew Nelson says Calvin replies to almost every comment. He does.
And you know what? That is value to your channel. Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly.
What? Buick Smith says, if I have 2 channels and don't make the subs on the other one, but have over 500 on the other, can I still come? What in the world? I don't even understand that question. If you have a channel with 500 subs,
You're there.
You're there.
Pay the fee and come on. Bring the Buick.
You mean, is he saying that
He has multiple
if
channels.
you have multiple channels and not all of them are over 500, are you penalized?
No.
That's kind of wild there, man.
Either that or he was aiming for the 1,000.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dizzy, he registered. I got to tell you, the No Name 500 guys who register first and then get their subs, they're risking their ego to do it.
Yes.
A lot of respect for that.
Absolutely. And there was people at the gate getting their subs at the first No Name Nationals. Dizzy was one of them. Damien was another one.
Chris, no. You know what? People who don't have enough attention span to watch something in long format, they sure aren't going to care about the kind of content here. Not really. People do all kinds of shorts, and that's cool. Hello, Busted Radio, Chris. I heard you sold Linda. Is that true?
That's what I seen.
That I heard something about that.
Colleen.
CNET Surfer. Sean O'Brien's got his Weber running on his 260Z, but he fall dead lean after the idle jet circuit. There we go. Nick the Fan Man. Could Andy and David recommend a carb for my application that has the same blueprint as the 2300 Holly? I have no room in the doghouse for a choke.
No.
See, what his problem here is he has this in a van, in a Econoline van.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's limited by that doghouse that goes over the engine where it's set back into the passenger compartment. So that's his problem with why he can't just put a 4-barrel on it. Won't fit, physically fit.
Same blueprint as a 2300. So you're wanting to keep the stock of the 2-barrel Offenhauser intake, I guess.
So what's the best he can get that bolts on where a 2300 Hollywood?
It's going to be,
There's not a
500
two.
CFM 2-barrel, which, you know,
Yeah.
Now, okay, this would be as expensive as hell, but I think Braswell has a 2-barrel carburetor that flows 650 on a 4-barrel rating,
yeah,
right? But that'll set you back $1,500.
yeah.
Dr. Go says David mentioned the 1.6 ratio rocker arm can help LSA narrower about 1 degree.
If you go up a rocker, let's say you've got a cam which is on too wide a lobe center line angle,
Yeah.
which about 90% of them are. When you go up on rocker ratio, what you're doing is you're making that camshaft 1 degree nearer correct,
Yes.
or about 1 to 1.5, depending what you started off with. Right? So, not really a fair test of rockers because the rocker is correcting a camshaft problem as well as providing extra area under the curve.
There's multiple things going on there. And a lot of people, when they dyno test, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, they'll put part A on the engine, dyno it, get the results, and they think that that's the absolute. And it's not. And the reason why that is, for instance, we're getting ready to do some testing with my Crown Vic with the trick flow heads. If I just bolt those trick flow heads on that short block and leave the exhaust manifolds and camshafts as is, what kind of power gains am I going to get by stuffing that engine or restricting those cylinder heads?
Yeah.
Versus, okay, now I'm putting a set of headers on it. Well, if I put the cams and headers on first and then put the heads on,
You show a much bigger difference.
it'll show a lot bigger difference.
Yeah. So,
And I've changed the same set of heads.
yeah, the domino effect is so often overlooked,
Yes.
right? And the reason is most people don't understand what the domino effect will have on the components. For instance,
Yeah.
how many people know that putting high ratio rockers on affects what the lobe center line angle that the engine will want is?
It changes what the lash should be as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
There's a lot of things.
and the advance.
Well, Dakota asked, does it change the LSA as much if you do high ratio rockers on only the intake side?
The intake side usually is the most important. I found that often when you put high ratio rockers on the exhaust, you gain very little to actually losing out slightly until the engine gets to quite high RPM, up in the last 1500 RPM of its range.
Dakota says they say the long stroke has to do with it. It's a 4.21 stroke. It's a long stroke.
Well, it's a very restricted port with a lot of cubic inches.
That's a tiny bore if that's a 421 stroke.
I mean,
These guys obviously haven't been around big aero engines, radial engines, where you've got a bore of 6.5 inches and a stroke of 7 inches.
No.
Well, I think actually I might be exaggerating a bit there.
So we're actually, it took us the entire live to get caught up on comments because the comments were flooding in. Right?
yes, they were.
Since we have a few minutes left here, do you have anything that you guys want to plug? Anything you're working on?
Yeah, Andy and I are still doing. Andy's been out the scene for a little while, so we've had to kind of put this on the back there. Grab those molds, port molds there. Right, this is the latest stuff that Andy and I are doing on the LS heads. Right, the ported one, stock one, ported one. Right. And what this is allowing us to do is to show you which head model is this? It's the
LS3. This is
but what's the name of it? Enforcer?
the Enforcer head,
Yeah.
the AFR Enforcer.
Right. We're starting off with a really good cylinder head, but it's limited by casting limitations, usually around the guide boss. So what we've done is we've removed the casting limitations.
Yes.
And we're about ready to flow test. But this was a modification here and here that can all be done at home, can't it?
Yes.
Right? The amount of metal removal is very small. I think we pulled only about 4 cc,
Yeah.
maybe 5 at the most out of that.
Very little
And
CC
out of this
removal.
one, about 3. And just cleaned up the port. Now, we're not expecting a big gain because we've already got a good cylinder head, but we will make a good cylinder head just a little bit better.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as too much horsepower.
And then what we're going to do after that is put the bigger valve in.
Yep.
And because this is a 208 intake valve, and we're going to go to the stock 2165 intake valve and see
if it will fit with the exhaust.
Yeah. Because the spacing is different, I think. But yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming up.
And the reason we're doing this, just want to say this, right? Is that when you buy the stock head, you know you're going to be able to build an engine which makes really good power. But maybe 3 years down the road, you want
a little bit more.
You want some more power, right? Now, do you sell these heads and buy some CNC ported heads? They're expensive. Or do you take what's here, which is very good, and just tweak it to what's here, which you can do for virtually nothing, just time. So what I'm saying is this AHRA LS6 head is that good that porting it is very easy to do. You just kind of do what AHRA would have done if they could have made it exactly the same instead of having to have these casting limitations. So that's what we're doing. Right.
And tomorrow, if anybody here is local to Shadyside, I'm going to be racing at Shadyside at the No Brainer Nationals. Me and my buddy Micah, we're going up there. No Brainer Nationals is a very special race to me. My buddy Red Hall, his son Jackson fought cancer for a very long time, and he actually passed away this year. And this is going to be a special race, and so we're going there tomorrow. I will be running to Crown Vic. I'm going to run it in bracket race, so it'll be quite interesting to see how that does.
Andy really wanted to use my Mustang, but
unfortunately, he's got stuff going on with
I have not finished the new cold air system I'm making. Look, this is how much I've modified the deal that goes into the front.
There's not much left.
There isn't much left. This could have been a really great addition, but no, they spent more time doing the badge than they spent in researching this. But anyway, that is going to be one of the things I'm covering. And the cold air system, we've done provisional tests. We got some new stuff to show.
And it's going to be
cold air system is so good, is rivaling a refrigerator. It beats
no kidding
any professionally built system out there by a country mile. Only trouble is it'd take you 2 weeks to make it.
Yeah.
We'll get this real quick. Thank you for the super chat, Daddy's Money Garage, Austin. He says, shameless self-promotion because Austin comes with a warning label.
Always. Disclaimer.
After this wonderful live show, Daddy's Money Garage is premiering a full engine build video. We would love to see everyone there. It's my brother's 454. Thanks all. Hope to see you. So the Daddy's Money crew built a 454.
Go check it out.
And they're premiering it right after this.
Go check it out in 2 minutes.
We are, yes, I was going to say, we are 2 minutes from shutting down here.
And right, Tony will be live also.
Yeah.
So Tony's going live. There's Joe. Joe's sliding here just to say,
hey, just Mopar Joe.
Hello, Mopar people.
I seen that text. I will give you a call tomorrow sometime.
Now, unfinished project. I don't know even what this means. This might be the last question. Right? What's the temperature that it drops to? 15 psi at 750 RPM. That goes to something else up there.
I have no idea.
That goes to something else. I see. The engine idle RPM. All right. And
don't forget to register for the No Name Nationals.
Street Fox, I think I'm going to be at Farmington Dragway.
Oh, yeah.
Mopar's at Farmington, the Piedmont Mopar Club.
Well, if you see my buddy Phil up there with the A100, you go up to him and tell him, hey.
I'll do that.
See, look, he's telling.
Buick Smith wants to know a good place to send
questions. Let me make a point here. I make my living as a consultant engineer. If I addressed every question that people send in to me and kind of expect it to be answered for free, I would be bankrupt.
Yeah.
You'd spend
Right.
your entire day in your email.
Yeah, and I think I said this on one of our broadcasts. In an hour and a half, I had 90 emails.
Yeah.
When am I going to find time to get to yours, Mr. Buick Smith? Now, I may be able to do that to answer your question better if we address this on the next live show. we
Yeah.
do.
I was going to say, these lives right here are wonderful opportunities to
Yeah.
get these guys. These are your best places to ask this stuff. But with that, we're at our time. So thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for
Thank
being
each
here.
and every one of y'all.
This
It's
has been a
fun.
blast.
It has.
Yeah,
you.
and thank you guys for being such a great. Can we call them an audience
We're a community.
Community. Yeah, that's the best. Right. This hasn't been work for us. It's more like we should be paying you guys.
This is fun, but I
we're
hope
not
it's
going
productive.
to. But we should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been great fun. Thank you guys very much.
All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Catch y'all later.
Yep.
Take care and thank you. Have a good weekend.
Cheers.